Good morning, Prescott Valley, and welcome to Council Conversation. My name is Brenda Dickinson, and I'm one of your town council members. This morning, we want to welcome Professor Parker W. Northrup III from Embry Riddle Aeronautical University, or ERAU, in Prescott, who is also a retired colonel after serving 24 years in the United States Air Force. He currently serves as chair of the Flight Department for ERAU. He is responsible for operations, maintenance, and support functions required to produce commercial multi-engine pilots and instructors over the course of a 4-year collegiate program. Welcome, Professor Northrup.
Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate you having me here today.
You're most welcome. Before we get to your PowerPoint presentation, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were raised, and how you ended up in Arizona.
Well, it's a pretty interesting story, I guess. I was born on an Air Force base. My father's retired Air Force, so I grew up that way, and then went to the Air Force Academy and had a 24-year career, flying B-52s mostly. My wife, who's also active duty Air Force, we got to the point at retirement where we wanted to find a place to live, and the Mountain West was on our list. So we looked at Boise and Grand Junction, Flagstaff, all these towns. And it was recommended we take a look at Prescott, so we did, and that is why we're here. We chose this as our retirement community in 2017, so we've been here for 5 years, and we've enjoyed it, of course, but that's the story, just, military selection of best place to retire, and this is where we found.
And you have 3 grown children?
We do, yeah, thank you. The 2 oldest are both young women, both on active duty in the Air Force.
Oh my.
My oldest daughter flies on an airplane called an AWACS. My next daughter is in Air Force pilot training now. We don't know what airplane she will fly. And our youngest is a son, Jack. He's a junior at Yale University in Connecticut, and he's studying chemical engineering.
Oh my goodness.
So he's good kids.
Yes, you must be very proud.
Yeah.
Well, we could make a whole program on your career and on your accomplishments and trophies that you've acquired. We want to mention, though, however, that in 1996 you received the Distinguished McKay Trophy for the most meritorious U.S. Air Force Flight of the Year, along with your Duke 1 flight crew for performing the first combat employment of the B-52 Stratofortress in history from the National Aeronautics Association. Did you ever happen to fly that over the Pasadena, California Rose Parade?
Yeah. I have not flown over Pasadena Rose Parade, but I did fly the B-52 at a lot of air shows and a lot of memorials. The most significant one, I flew the 50th anniversary at Pearl Harbor over the Punch Bowl in 1991. So I've had some great opportunities, the 70th anniversary of the World War II events in Washington, D.C., in 2014. So it's the Air Force gave me a lot of opportunity to just fly with that airplane, the B-52, in many environments. I really enjoyed it.
Well, that's a very distinguished trophy that you that you were given. Other individuals like Jimmy Doolittle and Chuck Yeager, I understand, also received that. So congratulations. Yes.
Thank you.
So without any other delay, let's start with your program.
Yeah, and so what I'm really here today, Brenda, is just talk about Embry Riddle flight. We have a professional pilot program that takes a few years, and what I thought I'd share with everybody is, what it's like out there at Embry Riddle. We're a part of the community, and we love being here, and I know that sometimes it's a mystery to folks about flight, and so I thought I'd go through just a couple of slides to help everybody see the context of who we are, what we use to fly, and where we are, and then tell you about the exciting things that are going on at the campus. So the first slide, I think, am I going to be able to see them? Oh, there we go. So next slide, please. So what we want to start with is just let everybody know what do we focus on? Like, what's our mission and our drive and our vision? And it really comes down to the student and the instructor, right? We are a very unique educational environment at Embry Riddle, especially in flight. Airplanes are our classroom, and it's a collegiate classroom. And so that drives us to have very high standards as well as our graduates being very successful. So we're really proud of that. If you go to my next slide, we have been recognized by the Department of Aviation here in the state of Arizona as a world-class business. Obviously, we're quite proud of that. We generate economic activity for the community, for the Quad Cities area. In fact, most of my flight instructors are residents of Prescott Valley. We have more residents in Prescott Valley, but we have them in Chino and Chino Valley and Prescott, of course, across the entire Quad Cities area. Next slide. I'm going to brag just a little bit more about our program. The information on the left is really kind of indicative of how well we are received in the industry. Embry Riddle Prescott is recognized as a major, it's one of the top flight schools in the United States. And so for us to be here in this community, I think it's important for folks to know that we are recognized globally, nationally for our skills. But on the other side, we are in fact the current U.S. national champions in collegiate flight, right? And not just that, we are back-to-back champions, and we've done it 14 times. So even Alabama doesn't have that many national challenges. So a lot of people don't know that you've got a U.S. national championship team here at the collegiate level at Embry Riddle Prescott, right? So I love to share that with you. Those students represent the best, really, of our flight students. They work extra hard in developing the same skills that we put into all of our students to become professional pilots. Next slide. As we transition, I just wanted to share with everybody our classroom environment. I mentioned that a few minutes earlier, but really there are two types of airplanes. The one in front of them is the Cessna 172 Skyhawk, and these airplanes are used to teach private pilots, so beginners, students in instrument rating, which is like when a pilot learns to not fly or not able to see the ground. He uses just the instruments inside so he can go into the clouds. Like on a day like today, you have to be instrument rated to fly in these type of environments. And then our commercial course, which is where we give them the skills and the rating in order to make money as a pilot. So those are kind of the progressions they go through, and they do that in the little airplane. In the larger airplane that's on the screen now, this is called our twin engine trainer. So you'll see it has two engines on it. These are Diamond DA-42 twin stars. We have 8 of those in the inventory, and we just completed purchasing a brand new fleet this year. So there isn't a single airplane in this fleet that's more than 2 years old. So, and that plays into the reason for that is we're very proud of our safety culture at Embry Riddle. We focus on safety as a priority for us. So having new airplanes means they break less often, they're more reliable for the students, and the students get a better training experience. On the next slide, we can see that this area is familiar to our listener or to our viewers today, right? This is the Prescott Quad Cities area. So our airplanes are up and above everybody almost every day that there's good weather. We love the airspace around here. It's great for training. It's great because it's uncrowded. Our students actually benefit from having all 4 seasons, right? So a day like today gives them some education and some training in dealing with weather. The area is 5,000 square miles. For our folks, I guess I would put, that's about the size of the state of Connecticut. So we actually occupy that much training space. And this is one of the benefits of being a North Central Arizona aviator is the ability to use this much airspace. Next slide. This slide really just kind of talks to our footprint at the Prescott Airport. We are undergoing some growth, and I have another slide that shows you, but this one kind of tells you that we operate out of 2 locations today, the main complex on the south side and the West Ops complex. When anybody flies out of the terminal there at the Prescott Regional Airport, that's our regional airport, from the terminal you can see my West Ops operations. So you'll be able to see our blue and white airplanes, you'll see our buildings, and you'll see our students out there pre-flighting airplanes and flying. The red triangle is our next big project. It's called the SAFE Complex, and that's a partnership development with the city of Prescott. And you can see that it encompasses the ability to continue our growth, which my next slide will give us some numbers. People always, I'm sorry, our next slide is a close-up of the SAFE Complex.
Okay.
I'd forgotten I put that slide in, but essentially it's a large ramp area with an education building and facilities. So those will generate obviously a lot of construction jobs and infrastructure and economic benefit for the development of that complex over the next 2 years. It looks like we should have it operational by the fall of 24 for most people. Next slide. So this is what I was talking about with growth. I know there's a lot of numbers, and I apologize for that. I'm kind of a numbers geek, right? So I'm sorry about that. But what I'd call everybody's attention to, or just to highlight, is that the program is growing. That's because the demand in the market, like if you and I eventually I would like to go fly to see my grandkids someday, we have to produce professional pilots to keep the industry sustained. There's been some unfortunate news for some airlines recently that got short on their pilots. And so that's really what Embry Riddle is doing. Embry Riddle is enhancing and sustaining the future of the airline industry by our production. Roughly speaking, we've grown about 300% in the last 4 years, since I became the chair in 2018. So it's been a fun time. It's about managing that growth. And on the slide at the bottom, just to give folks an idea about the economic impact, every 100 flight students means we're going to go purchase 6 new airplanes. We pay sales tax on that to the state of Arizona. We pay registration taxes to the Arizona Department of Transportation. All of that money, of course, is used back in the community to sustain aviation. Also, it results in about 16, 17 new employees that need housing and live in the community with you. I think I mentioned before we got started that actually Prescott Valley, I have 185 employees. Most of my employees live in Prescott Valley, even though we fly out of the Prescott Airport. So we have a good representation across the Quad Cities from Embry Riddle flight employees.
Well, it is a regional airport.
It is indeed, absolutely, and we encourage people to think about it that way.
Yeah.
So if we go to the next slide, I think we're getting close to the end. This chart kind of graphs for everybody about the slides. One of the things I have an opportunity to do is talk to local citizens about our growth, about our airplanes, right? Folks call me and I talk to them about what does flight operations, they hear our airplanes, they see our airplanes, and they want to know about that. The chart does 2 things for me. It shows you that back in the 1990s, we honestly were as busy then as we are now. So the folks that say, well, you've never been this big, or this is too big for the area, it's actually, we're just returning to the size that we once were. And then also the idea is that, we are sustaining these hours, in order to provide for the students, right? The students require those flight hours for them to graduate on time.
And that also contributes to the fact that we're one of the busiest airports in the nation. Right?
We are. That's a great point. In 2022, so Prescott Regional Airport was the busiest airport for locally assigned traffic. So for airplanes that start here and fly here and stay here, we are the busiest in the United States with over 200,000 takeoff and landings by our little airplanes. So, and that's something I think folks can be proud of, that the capacity exists to train that many flight students.
Absolutely.
Moving back to our last slide, I just want to highlight that we are working on things for improving our growth. I want the community to know that, we're doing it in a way that manages our growth, but the one thing at the bottom there, the term is Auxfield, but our analysis suggests that this region, the North Central Arizona region, so Chena, Prescott Valley, Prescott, is actually short of aviation infrastructure, right? There aren't as many little airports around that you would expect for a Quad Cities area. So we've been advocating and working with folks, and would like to continue working with you to understand that it would be beneficial for the community from a general aviation standpoint if we could develop a little more runway infrastructure in this region for all of our users. Next slide. And I think that's my last one. We are in growth. We're at about 900 students today. We expect to be about 1,200 students at capacity. That's what, between the size of the airport, the airspace, the ability to, operate, that's probably about the right size for where we are. We're, of course, working with our partners at the regional airport for efficiency and design improvements to help the airport from a safety and efficiency standpoint. And then working with community leaders like yourselves and others to, work together on our growth. We want to have a positive impact, and we know we do economically. And I think, it occurs to me that while I am the largest employer of Embry Riddle students in the campus, I think that, 900 flight students, almost all of them work in the community as well. And so when you see those young people understand they are starting in their professional career, and we're happy that we get the support out of the community for those young folks that they're not old and retired like me, right? They still have a career, and so we're excited about getting them through our program and off into the industry.
And that falls back to the economic contribution that they make to our community. And we hope that some of these graduates would choose to stay in the area as well, and to build their careers and businesses and industries in aviation here as well. So share with us a little bit about how the public can come to the campus, what activities you might have.
Well, Embry Riddle obviously is a university, institution of higher learning, has a lot of great activities and opportunities for folks to engage upon. The number one, and I think our most popular, is our planetarium, which has regularly scheduled shows. So on our website, you can go out there and see what shows are scheduled and see to get tickets and things for that. We also have a successful athletic program, right? So we have a wrestlers and soccer and cross country, and so we're in the Cal-Pac region for universities. And so on our athletics website, you can see where there's athletic competitions that are going on. The thing that I really am excited about, I really would encourage folks to do, is understand we run a very comprehensive and diverse summer programs for young adults. So if you have a child that's ages 6 to 18 and they have an interest in anything related to the STEM career fields, we have a summer program for them. I run 3 different kinds of flight summer camps. I have one where mom or dad can go fly with their child. It's called a take flight camp, where it's a parent guardian or a child guardian pairing, and we put you together in the airplane and go fly around the region. You get to see Sedona from the air, go cross country towards the Grand Canyon. So that's a great program. We also have a flight exploration program where we take the student away from mom and dad for that time or in that day camp and get those experiences. So flight is there, but there's also computer science, meteorology, UAS, so a wide variety of STEM summer camp programs. And I'd encourage folks to check us out for those, especially in the summer months.
Well, thank you for all of this wonderful information. We want to say in closing, thank you, Colonel Northrup, for spending some time with us this afternoon. We've learned a lot about Embry Riddle and the future of aviation. We could talk all day long about your illustrious career and, of course, the Stratofortress as well. And Embry Riddle is a real asset to our community. And we have a hidden or not so hidden gem at our fingertips. And we hope that we can attend some of these events. I know that you have air show scheduled sometime in the near future or within the next couple of years.
Yes, in partnership with the airport, we plan to continue that event.
Great. And we thank you again for joining us today. And we want to thank our viewers for joining us in this incredible council conversation with Professor Northrup. And we appreciate you tuning in, and we hope you have a great day.